Welcome back to Ghost and Friends, guys. We are live here with Zach Berman. Zach, welcome to Ghost and Friends, sir. Go ahead and tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and why you're on the channel tonight.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's going to be a fun show for sure. A little bit about me. I am the head social media or Twitter admin, should I say, of a pretty notable SEC related account that, for reasons of keeping my job, I would prefer not to say, but it's an object in which you sit on. Our head honcho travels the country reviewing pizza.
So
You get the gist.
You get the gist. I was a little worried about how far I could go with it all. I know that we're not supposed to go just say it outright, but I think Zach did a pretty good job of painting that picture for you. But if you haven't figured out who this man is, feel free to speculate in the comments. Y'all fill those up. Let's have a good time. Ask this gentleman some questions. But yeah, carry on, brother. Tell me if you have anything more about yourself. Go right ahead.
Well, a little bit about me. I am a proud alum of the University of Missouri, so go Tigers. We'll get into Mizzou in a bit. I actually born and raised in the state of New Jersey, live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I work for the New Jersey Devils. I'm actually based out of our South office here in Camden. Well, I don't live in Camden, but thank God. But I'm across the river in Philly, and I'll get into as much Philly banter as possible. Not a Philly sports fan. I'm a little bit behind enemy lines here in several aspects, but I'm as much of a college football weirdo as you'll come by. I guess I describe myself as like a disciple of the Sickos Committee in a way. Like I'm literally an open book.
Well, I think that with what you do and who you work for, who you represent, you've done a good job so far, and that's an organization that having an opinion is a big thing, and it is very encouraged. And you've done a good job of being an open book while sharing your opinions, but also I think your texts are solid. I haven't seen anything from your account in particular. I may have bookmarked a tweet or two that came from that account, but I'm not sure if that was you by then. But all right, man. So you mentioned you're a Mizzou alum. When did you graduate Mizzou?
2023. So last year. I lose track of my numbers sometimes.
I was going to ask you for your favorite Big 12 memory from your Tigers, but I'm not sure you remember any of those days. That'd have been a while ago for you.
No, I do not.
No worries at all. So speaking on Mizzou, obviously you referenced just before we came live the big season last year. Cotton Bowl win. You took down the Buckeyes. Defense was electric all season long. You had great receiver play, quarterback play. Massive year for you. What are the expectations looking like in 2024 when you return a lot of that offense, but you do have a lot of overturn on your defense? Go right ahead, bro.
I think the expectation for this Missouri Tiger team is, at least between me and the people I connect with. If anybody from Mizzou Twitter is watching this, first of all, hi, I miss you guys. But I would say 10 wins and a spot in the college football playoff, if I'm being honest with you. Yes, there was a lot of overturn on defense that includes losing Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples to LSU. I really do like the new staff we brought in. Corey Batoon from South Alabama held Oklahoma State to 7 points last year on the road, and it's widely regarded that he was the brainchild behind one of the best defenses in the country that nobody was talking about. I like what we did in the portal. Unfortunately, one of our bigger additions, Darius Smith, just went down with a case of the shredded every ligament in his knee, so he's going to be out for the year. But I do really think this defense is going to catch some people by surprise. But The biggest, if I had to be honest with you, the biggest question mark that I'm looking forward to answering is in the running back room because, of course, Cody Schrader ended up, he's graduated. He's out in San Francisco right now. Hopefully he makes the team. He should make the team. But
Would make the team.
I'm excited to see what our two new transfers, Nate Noel out of App State and Marcus Carroll out of Georgia State and Georgia Southern.
They're the
Geez,
same. Yeah.
they're the same.
I was.
But
Go ahead and go ahead.
Georgia State, okay, got it right the first time. But I'm excited to see how Drink, divvies that up. He says it's going to be a 1A, 1B situation. I'm curious to see, if there's a favorite that takes place over the course of the season. But also, Mizzou's schedule, for what it's worth, very, very easy by SEC standards. No Georgia, no Texas, no Ole Miss, no LSU. You have a trip to Bama, and I think Bama's going to be very good this year. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Kalen DeBoer, and Oklahoma, who I'm not as high on. They come to Columbia for the first time in a decade plus. The only other game that really stands out to me is a trip to College Station, and then again, new coach. Thanks to ESPN and the SEC for making sure that was an 11 a.m. local kick. Didn't want to go there under the lights.
Absolutely.
Think they threw us a bone there. So we'll see. But if you can go 2-2 in Oklahoma, Alabama, A&M, Auburn, and win everything else that you're supposed to, you should be good to go. This is going to be a good team. They're going to score. They're going to blitz a lot. Yes, there are questions on the defensive line and there are questions in the secondary. I think the players that Eli Drinkwitz has brought in through the portal should answer them pretty well.
Obviously, the team I represent in a similar situation regarding the defensive tackle position. We like what we have, but at the same time, these are guys that have to go improve themselves. You got to trust Missouri and what they've done and Coach Drink. They're doing a lot of the right things. So to go completely right off your defense and to just be like, oh, they won't be as good. They're not going to win another 11-win season. You can't write them off. Obviously, you lost a lot of big names. Darius Smith, I loved him coming over from Georgia, man. I thought that was going to be huge for you guys.
He's a killer.
You never want to see anyone go down, man.
Nah.
And camp right before the season, before they've had a chance to get on the field and show anything, after they worked so hard to, for that chance, it's heartbreaking. You don't want to see it for any kid. It doesn't matter who they are, but that one, man, Missouri's they're a program on the rise. There's going to be a lot of SEC people that are like on the rise. They just want a Cotton Bowl. Okay, it's a massive win for that program. They're recruiting better. You brought in 12 transfer portalers. I think you got a top 10 portal class, maybe right there on the cusp of it. So yeah, to make your point, y'all are doing the necessary things to fill the voids that were left by some of the departures on defense, whether it be by graduation, draft, or transfer. And the schedule shapes up really, really well for you guys. I agree wholeheartedly with you there. The A&M game being at 11 is huge. I don't know where's the Bama game? Is it Bryant Denny
it's a Bryant Denny.
Okay. Did we lose him? Is he gone? He's still there, Zach? There he is. Okay, just making sure. But yeah, that game being in Bryant Denny, I'm still not going to put that down as a game that you guys can't win. We've lost you again for a second, Zach, or you've gone dark on us. But all right. Well, it is just I for the moment. Zach and I had plenty of audio issues before we guys got started, and hopefully he can hop back on, join us, and we'll continue talking it up a little bit. But thank you guys for all that are watching. We've got a few guys in the comments, or a few ladies in the comments, one lady in the comment. If you have any questions for me that you would like me to answer, throw them in there, and I will get on that while we wait on our man Zach to come back. We're talking to him about the Missouri Tigers. We're talking about the SEC. Doesn't matter what your question is. Anything in college football, if you have a question, shoot it this way. And he is trying to roll back in. Let's see. You there, bub?
I should be.
We can't see you, but I can hear you.
Can't see me, but you can hear me. And yes, Ingrid, to answer your question, yes, I am. It feels like the end of the first Iron Man. You're just like, I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man. Well, hey man,
What
I don't
is
know.
going?
They can't.
What is going on?
Not
There's
sure. Oh, we
tech
can
to the
hear you
left,
for the
tech to
moment.
the right. All right, I'll here. Let me pop out real fast. Hold on.
Oh, you're good, man. Take your time. But yes, Ingrid Zach did kind of confirm right there. He is who you asked if he who he was, and it's really cool that he's doing this. He represents a large portion um, of SEC Twitter for the I mean, you see his account all over the place, and so for him to be on the channel is a really cool thing. Also, tomorrow, Texas fans, really cool moment. We're gonna have Dia Bell, 2026 Texas quarterback commit. He will be on the channel at 11 a.m. our time. He's going to spend roughly half hour to 45 minutes with us before he goes to practice. So make sure y'all tune in for that. That will only air live on YouTube. That will not be posted onto X or Twitter. So yeah, please go show Dia some love. Check out or ask him a few
We're
questions.
back.
He's back. There he is, the man. So, well, he's working on it. He's trying to get back.
What is going on? Oh my gosh. Ugh.
Oh man, not sure, brother, but
See,
we
this
can
is on
still hear
me.
you. So
This is my
we
end.
can still hear you.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. All right, we're locked and loaded. But yeah, we'll keep it going, making your point. I like a lot of what you said about Mizzou. I think there's a great deal of confidence around Columbia, and I think that is justified confidence. The schedule shapes up really, really well. You talk about Oklahoma, Auburn, Bama, A&M. You know, me looking at the matchups, yeah, it's the SEC, and you could easily drop 3 of those games. But on paper, I mean, you're going to be in every one of those games at worst, in my opinion, with a chance to win all 4 with a couple of games in there that if you play to your upside and your ceiling, you can win those games by 10, 14 or more. But getting ahead of myself. It's the SEC, go week by week. All right, brother. Texas, Oklahoma. What do you like about us coming into the conference as far as on the football field? What do you dislike? I'm not going to be offended. You can keep it real on this channel all day. Talk a little about Sark and Venables in there as well. You can get a long-winded answer if you.
Okay. I'll give you a long-winded answer. I think if we were going to add you guys with a right to start off with, I don't really have anything bad to say about Texas because to be honest with you, I've never really had a poor interaction with the Texas. Oklahoma, on the other hand, well, as someone that ran Barstool, Missouri through the Williams Waneri recruiting saga, look, you guys got to get out of my hair and just focus on your own damn business, okay? Like if you go out and beat us November 9th, you can light me up like a Christmas tree. I'm not someone that will run. I'm not going to run from the grind. That's not who I am. Like I'll take my licks. But I feel like Oklahoma might be due for a rude awakening. I don't love their roster. I mean, whereas Texas, on the other hand, look, you guys made it to the college football playoff last year. You got your quarterback coming back. You lost a lot of pieces, but no one's going to feel bad for you. You reload, and that's what Sark did. I mean, look, everybody is going out and saying that Texas is going to compete for one of the top spots in the SEC. I certainly believe so. I have Oklahoma in the 8-9 win range, maybe down to 7 if a few balls bounce the way they shouldn't. Look, it's college football. Weird shit happens. You can never count anybody or anything or any outcome, whether it be positive or negative, out. I've seen it all. You've seen it all. You're older than me. You know how things can get. But
Absolutely.
I think in terms of like building the conference, they're good ads. I like adding you two over, say, Clemson and FSU. I think it's the right fit. It's the right place to move. Now, my question to you is: look, we're at 16. If the SEC were to go to 20 or 18, like where would you add?
I am a huge proponent of North Carolina first and foremost. Let's get the Tar Heels in there. I love everything about UNC. obviously I'm a Mac guy. I like Mac a good deal, but I like their program before Mac was there. I love the basketball program, elite color scheme, great traveling fan base. They would be my first. Now, obviously, you're asking, from you're not going to go from 16 to 17, so that's where I start to have the issues. Who do I pile in right after North Carolina? Personally, for me, and there might be other schools that make more sense than the Tar Heels, but obviously, I mean, you look at like Florida State, but it doesn't seem like someone doesn't want Florida State in the SEC, or they don't want to be in. I don't know. It seems like there's a weird friction there. Can you have any comment on that, or can you elaborate more?
It feels like it was too obvious a marriage to not happen already. And the
Right.
fact that it hasn't happened makes me think that there's something we don't know. When I think about who would be a good fit to join the SEC, I keep on going back to Georgia Tech. That's a program that is on the rise. Well, they just got a huge recruit
Massive,
like
massive.
last week. And oh my God, who's their coach? Brent Key, right?
Yeah,
Is that
I just
right?
talked
Yeah.
about him. Yeah,
He has done a really good job with that program. And look, you're in the SEC's backyard. You're in Atlanta. Might as well stake your claim, plant your flag. I would argue and also very much so boosts the conference GPA. Texas does too.
well, I mean, Oklahoma hurts in that regard, but hey, it's all good.
Yeah,
So,
I
I
like
mean,
Georgia Tech.
they're a natural ad, absolutely. There's some schools, when you see them competing against, just in your head, you're thinking you see them on the field versus LSU, Missouri, Georgia, Bama, and seeing them play, that they just look like they'd fit in. They seem, not that looks matter, but they seem like an SEC school. I don't know why they're not there already. I mean, we know why, but I love Coach Key. I think he's fantastic. Now, do they hold on to him? This is beside the point, but do they hold on to the man? Because if they do, like, I mean, you're talking about a Georgia Tech team that they're gonna have some fun in that ACC until we obviously make another big realignment move, because there is another large one coming, the big one. But I'm a fan of Georgia Tech. I can see that it's an easy ad. Let's go Southeast. Like, what are your thoughts on like a Miami, a Clemson, or those schools?
Absolutely not. Actually, Clemson, you could talk me into.
Okay.
I don't like Dabo, but I don't think anybody does.
There's already enough orange in the SEC. I'm out on Clemson.
I get where they come from as a culture fit. They have the rivalry built in with South Carolina. I was saying absolutely no to Miami as someone whose dad lives in South Florida, spent a lot of time down there. You gotta have your own stadium to be in this conference. I'm sorry. Like there's just no home field advantage. There's no I mean, when I was a kid, my two dream schools were the University of Oregon and University of Miami. And I toured the U in 8th grade and it felt like a country club with classrooms. And I just like was not into it. I just don't think the vibe fits the conference.
I mean, even last year when they hosted A&M, and A&M had pretty big preseason aspirations last year, and that's a big game for Miami to hold on campus, not on campus. And yeah, I mean, it was they win by what, 15, and it's still very much like an NFL crowd. I mean, it's not electric. There's nothing I think that college kids that are going to Miami look forward to as far as playing in front of that type of environment. I mean, when you go every road game you play at, you're playing in a much better environment than you're playing at in Coral Gables. So
If you were going to ask me today, look, if you're Greg Sankey, you get to add 4 teams to the conference right now. Who would those 4 be? I would go Georgia Tech, and then all 3 schools in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle.
yeah,
Duke, UNC, NC State, cut it off there. The only other school I would think of, and once again, not really an SEC crowd per se, but I think their football program is doing enough as is, and also it would plant a flag in North Texas. I'm not against the SMU idea.
I mean, there's money there. There's a lot of money there,
Oh
and
yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you about another one that just a little further north. Would you ever look at and/or consider an Oklahoma State quality
No.
football program, very consistent, but yeah, it doesn't feel like an SEC crowd. SMU fits in more, obviously, from a crowd perspective than the Pokes do. But just curious because Oklahoma did come along, and because their football program has been consistent for quite a while under Coach Gundy up there. Pretty good
I
glad to be getting away from that guy. He schemed us up like for a
I
while.
have I have my thoughts on Gundy and Oklahoma State. A great program, great school. I don't really have much of a desire to ever go to Stillwater, but I just I don't see it. I think there are better fits in better places per se. We already have one Starkville in the conference. We don't need
Yeah,
another.
fair enough. I mean, I do like the Steve Moon Pickens Stadium. I'm a fan of going up there. I've had some great trips. As far as outside of the stadium, yeah, I'm fully with you there. There's not a ton to do there. Doesn't have a cool nickname like Stark Vegas. Not trying to shit on you folks. I got some good folk friends out there. All right, man. Just curious, real quick. Sarkeesian and Brent Venables. Talk about those two. We didn't get into those two yet. What are your thoughts on each as a head coach, and kind of their futures in the SEC and at their schools?
I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh, Venables might not be the guy, and there's definitely there's positivity around him, and then there's also doubt. And I'm going to forego any drawing to conclusions here and now. I would like to. My opinions on Venables are going to be determined a lot by what happens in these next two seasons. Whereas Sark, look, you make the playoff at a school and then stay, which, believe it or not, is pretty. Like, I was concerned at one point that Sark was going to circle back and take the Bama job,
Mm,
but I think he's building Texas back up to what they should be. And Texas can't not be nationally relevant. I know people have their thoughts about Texas, but you can't be irrelevant. That's my point with Texas, and Sark's going to keep recruiting like crazy, keep keep the fans happy, keep winning games. That's what you need to do. Sark's going to stay around for a long time. He's going to be a problem in this conference for a long time. Venables, if I was holding the magic 8 ball, I'd shake it once and it would say, "Ask me again later."
I think that's fair, man. I've a few times on the channel I've said that I think the longer Brent Venables makes it at Oklahoma, I think the better he gets, because he's going to need to really be, I love the offense that he's bringing in the conference. The up tempo. He's going to run his quarterback if necessary. I don't know how much he'll run Jackson Arnold, but and then obviously he's a defensive guy, and with the defense that they have, I think that it can get them by enough this year while their offensive line tries to get gel and find a little bit of cohesiveness, and obviously Arnold settles in, but I worry for. I mean, like if they struggle this year and they go a 6-6, I mean, which isn't on paper as bad as or isn't realistically as bad as it would be on paper. That schedule is gnarly, brother. That is a murderer's road. Road games are tough. Home games are tough. And it starts from the jump with Tennessee at home. Then you go to Auburn. I mean, that's a pretty tough little 1-2 stretch right there.
I'm not that high on Auburn this year, but let me tell you, the voodoo magic in that place,
That's the
stupid.
thing. In that building, it's a different world, man. Unless you're New Mexico State. But outside of that, I mean, it's insane to look at that game and then look at the Iron Bowl, right? I mean, just crazy what college football is from a week to week basis and how much it can change, man. It's
Woo.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
My Jordan Hare story. Are you familiar with the Mizzou Auburn game a few years ago? Oh
Not
boy.
yet. Keep going. It'll come up.
This was right at the precipice of all the Brian Harsin stuff,
Okay.
and Drink still hadn't found his footing yet as head coach. Offense. This was before, and look, my biggest credit to Eli Drinkwitz is he did something that not many people, not just in football, in sports, are willing to do and admit that he was not the right man to be running the offense, and he gave up calling the plays and hired Kirby Moore as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
And yeah, he's done a fantastic job. But first 3 years at Mizzou, Drink ran the offense. And we went down to Jordan-Hare Stadium. We're 2-1. Auburn was 2-1. And this is 11 a.m. kickoff. Flash forward about 20 hours. Friday afternoon. I get out of class. I'm standing in line at Panda Express in the Student Center. And my buddy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, tickets are $50, the 50-yard line, row 2. Get in your fucking car, we're going." And I look at him and I said, "Are you out of your mind?" And he's like, "A little bit." I'm like, "All right, we're going." So we drove through the night from Columbia, Missouri to Auburn, Alabama. We must have got to Auburn around 10 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
And first half goes pretty par for the course. It's 14-14 going into halftime. I am standing in new shoes and in what I believe was raw sewage. Those shoes did not leave Auburn, Alabama. But I'll get back to that.
It took a turn. I didn't expect that.
Oh, this takes plenty of turns.
Okay.
Second half begins. Punt, 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 punt. There, until the last drive of the second half, every single possession ended in a punt. The game goes from bad to horrible to flat out unwatchable. And deep into the fourth quarter, it is 14-14. And finally, Mizzou gets a big play, and they're running down the clock. First and goal inside Auburn's 5-yard line. And Eli Drinkwitz, seeing how the offense has sputtered throughout the game, doesn't want to take his chances and decides to send out his All-American kicker, Harrison Mevis, to win the game with a chip shot 26-yarder. And my buddy is wearing a DH-gate Harrison Mevis jersey.
Oh, no.
And we see Mevis run out into the field and does not take a single warm-up.
Oh, no.
And I'm surrounded by players' families. I'm in the Mizzou friends and family section here at Jordan-Hare. And I look to my left and I look to my right and I look at my friend. I go, "He's gonna fucking miss, isn't he?" Surely enough, he does. Wide right. Overtime. We go into overtime. The defense holds Auburn to a field goal attempt. Auburn's kicker comes out. He misses wide right. There's a flag on the play.
Oh, my God.
And it's offsides on Missouri.
Oh, my God.
Auburn kicks again. It's good. Okay. Now Mizzou's got to go 25 yards, score a touchdown, get the hell out of here. The first play, he hands it off. Brady Cook hands it to Nate Pete. Speed back, transfer out of Stanford. He cuts left. He's to the 15. He's to the 10. Holy shit, he's to the 5. And you see him reach out, and for some ungodly reason, lets go of the football about a half-yard shy of the goal line. The ball bounds into the end zone. Auburn recovers it. Game over.
Yeah, I didn't remember any of that until the very, very, very end. And now I can see it. And the feeling of watching your team go down in a loss like that, but to drive through the night and do it on the oh, man. Hugs, man. That hurts a lot.
My buddy, as we're walking out of the stadium, we walk out, we see the most depressing toilet papering of the Toomer's Corner trees you'll ever imagine, because all the Auburn fans had written the game off. They thought, okay, this is the loss that gets Harsin fired. Doesn't happen. So we're watching, typically when Auburn wins a game, they're throwing the toilet paper all over the place. It's a blast. It's all jovial. They're like, oh, cool, we won. My buddy's watching this happen, rips off his jersey, throws it in the trash, walks back to the car with me shirtless.
So no shoes for you, no shirt for him?
No shoes for me, no shirt for him. We book it out of Auburn, stopped at a Marshall's or something, got the first pair of anything we saw, and then proceeded to book it to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, just to get to the Bama game by kickoff. because
Oh,
we had to pick one of my friends up who was working that game.
what a weekend, man. Or a hell of a Saturday. Saturdays in the SEC.
The best Saturday I've ever had.
Oh man, I grew up east of Waco, Texas, and one of the I don't know, probably first 3 or 4 college football games I attended. I was 8 or 9 years old. Was Missouri at Baylor, 97 or 99, and
Did you grow up a Baylor fan?
I was a Baylor fan for about 2 years of life. Up until I remember watching it. I hope my dad's not watching. I remember watching a Texas game with my dad. My parents were split up, and it was just my dad and me. And I remember watching Baylor and Texas play. I want to say this is like 95 or something. So I would have been, man, a handful of years old. And I remember watching Texas beat Baylor by a field goal, is what it was. It's like 28-25 Texas. And I cried. I'm like a little kid crying. And he's like, "What's wrong with you? Like, this is who we root for, this and that," and goes on. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I can kind of like both teams because I was a part of like a youth church group, and like they would always take us to one Baylor game every year. So that's kind of how it all started. But I don't know at one point. I know very quickly I didn't like Baylor very much after that. So but this is Mizzou at Baylor. Halftime, Missouri's going in leading 28-0, and it starts to like rain a little bit. And the youth director's like, "Dude, let's bounce. We got to get out of here." So the whole youth group, we leave and we go to a park. And while we're at the park hanging out and stuff, I remember someone turned, it's old, forever ago, almost 30 years ago, someone turns the game on via radio, and they are like, "And we head to double overtime here in Waco." And I'm like, what the hell just happened? It was 42-42 or something. They're going to double or triple overtime. Missouri did hold on and win, but I was just like, we left. We're at the park right now having a sandwich, and we could have just watched a triple overtime college football game.
Well, how familiar are you with the Baylor social media mob?
You can ask anybody. I know we're new to each other here for the most part in the last couple of weeks or so. You can ask anyone on Twitter. I am extremely kind and cool to every fan base except for one particular fan base, and I don't interact with almost anyone from there. There are a lot of reasons for that, but I pay no attention.
That's not Baylor, is it?
Oh, it is Baylor. I pay no
It
attention.
is Baylor.
Yeah, I pay no attention to Twitter. I don't know who you're referencing because I literally almost every Baylor tweet, anything I see, I'm muting it. I've got some beef with Baylor.
Well, a buddy of mine happens to be like the tribal chief of Baylor Twitter.
See,
So,
well, maybe
does the name Drake Toll ring a bell to you? Probably does.
No.
He's locked on Big 12.
Okay. Well, I'll have to give him a shot.
He works for the Savannah Bananas, their rival team.
Oh wow, okay. I know a couple of cats that work for those guys as well. But yeah, I'll have to give him a shot. I do make a lot of Baylor jokes. I mean, I'm not arguing and getting rude with those guys or anything, or we're not going at it. I just I make more Baylor jokes than anything else, I'll say. Me and you, the first kind of led to this whole ordeal, the interaction that started it off. We talked USC. We talked Lincoln Riley. We talked the most overrated coach that wasn't in the SEC. Do you give them a snowball's chance in hell in Vegas at taking down LSU and Brian Kelly's Tigers?
I think LSU is going to be really good this year. I'm a big Garrett Nussmeier fan. I think they're going to get vaporized. Now, if anybody's watching this from USC, I don't have that much beef with you guys because my head coach in Dynasty ended up getting hired there, and I just won a national championship with you guys. So
fight on,
shout out head coach Remy LeBeau, 2030 national champions, USC Trojans. But
that's glorious.
But no, I don't give you guys a snowball's chance in hell in that game. And I hate that it's a neutral site game more than anything else. Why is that game getting played in Vegas? Like, play that in LA or Baton Rouge, please.
Absolutely. I mean, how often do we see Southern Cal come to the Southeast? Almost never. And LSU, I'm sure, probably would have been happy to go out there. And LSU is not really. They're about it. They'll go do those home and homes. I'm not blaming USC. I don't know the details on that. But agreeing with you, I think it's an abomination. There's no way that game should be played in Las Vegas there. I will say that similar to you, man. My dad's from South California. Like I have a soft spot for the Trojans. I I am pretty hard on Lincoln Riley. I do think they deserve a little bit better, or he needs to give them a little more. Both can be true. We'll see what happens first. I think that obviously he's got to fix everything on the defensive side, and to anyone on earth watching this right now, they're like, yeah, obviously we all know this. So we'll see what they do. That's the standard, and everybody has that same question mark with USC. But I just had to ask that because we did talk about that. That kind of led to you hopping on the channel. I do think he's one of the more fantastic minds in all of college football. Playing against him when he was the head coach at Oklahoma and the OC for a couple years beforehand was definitely a big headache, man. Those first quarter and a half when he was rolling out the script on you, it was pain at times. At the same time, we weren't great for a few of those matchups, so that probably played into it as well. But I don't know. Not going to rant about it forever. I just honestly, when he got to USC, I expected some pretty big results, almost immediately, considering what he was taking over there to Oklahoma with him.
That's a tough program to win at nowadays, though. I think USC needs to get a little bit better, with the recruiting side of things.
Absolutely. No,
because Southern California is, at this point, USC doesn't have that big a piece of the pie. Right now, it's the SEC and Oregon.
Yep.
And you want to talk about a school that I have a legitimate soft spot for? I did actually. Well, my whole dad's side of the family lives out in Portland. I went out there all the time as a kid. My first college football game was during Mariota's Heisman season. I grew up a Duck through and through. Do still have a bit of a soft spot for him. So if you ever see me defending Oregon on Barstool SEC, know it actually comes from the heart.
Okay. I mean, they're hard not to like. I mean, I don't necessarily love losing recruiting battles to those guys these days. Which we're going to win our fair share, and we did flip a defensive lineman that was a huge need here in the last month. But the jerseys are cool. The Option's a great stadium, great environment. They play good ball. I think Dan Lanning's incredible.
Oh yeah,
it would be awesome. I would love if he coached my kids. I mean, like that's the type of guy. He seems to be very much a player's coach, but also doesn't seem like he's straight business. And obviously he won a lot of people over with the pregame speech last year versus Colorado. But obviously, anyone that knew him down in Georgia knew he was about that action, man, and that he was going to do good things up there for Go Ducks.
He is just. I would run through a brick wall for that man, like no joke. Like if I had a kid who was playing college football, like who would I want them playing for? Dan Lanning's the top of that list. What I've been told about Eli Drinkwitz would have him right up there with him, though.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody. He's someone that I've heard nothing but good things about on my end, at least, and we're lucky to have him, even though he's growing up the porn stash, and I have thoughts about the way it looks, but.
I mean, hey, he owns it though, man.
He does own it.
You got to, if you're going to do something like that, you got to own it, and that's the key. He does a good job of it. I know that you referenced back when he was calling plays and everything. There was a lot of jokes, and a lot of people. It's Twitter. They're making their cracks, appearance related. The way he takes photos with recruits. There's always something. And then he starts winning a little bit, and everything quiets down a little bit, and they're like, okay, shoot, man, maybe we were wrong. Maybe this guy knows what he's doing. But no, I mean, obviously he's got the program on the rise, so y'all got a lot to be excited about with Missouri. Where we're gonna go to. All right, go ahead.
Last thing I'll say on that note, it's not a drink thing. It's just like a college football thing in general. When you win, a lot of the shtick that you do that doesn't win people over then, like I'm going to be the first person to admit, I was not a huge drink guy until this past season.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that shtick is a lot more fun when you win than when you don't.
Well, no doubt, man. That's a lot, 100% truth behind that. you see a lot of coaches across, like Lane Kiffin right now. I mean, like I love Lane Kiffin. He's one of my favorite coaches across the entire sports landscape. At the same time, if he wasn't getting that program to slowly reach newer heights, if you weren't doing so, I don't know if they think he's as funny as he is, or maybe trying to be. But yeah, just a random example to make your point. Winning carries a lot of things, man. You win, and people forgive a lot. Ask you a question. You referenced earlier Drinkowitz calling plays the first few years. Billy Napier has recently said he will be calling plays, and that, I mean, which he has before. But do you think Billy Napier? I mean, what you think this is it for him? Do you think this is he has a chance for a rebound? There's talent on the roster, but the schedule can negate that quite quickly. So, what are your thoughts on Napier? Napier calling plays, etc.
I am torn. On one hand, I'm not a huge Billy Napier guy. I also am going off of what I've heard from the Florida camp, which is that people think he's closer to being extended than let go. What year is this now for Napier? Is it 3? I want to say
Year three,
3.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was at Lafayette in 2021.
If what I've seen from Eli Drinkwitz is anything, I think you need 4 years to properly
And this
judge a coach
in this
conference.
I mean, you're talking about deep recruiting waters. Every Saturday is a war. You have to have some patience, man. And speaking on that, after Texas goes 5-7, there's a lot of people that were screaming, and after that 2021 campaign for, Sark's not the guy. And my account was brand new at the time, and I was like, man, like, you go watch the first quarter of a game, you go watch the first half of a game, you see Sark's scheme, you see our starters contributing before, fatigue it kicks in, and then you have to have bodies, especially in big time college football. You have to have depth in multiple positions, and we played some really quality football, even against some of the better teams in 2021 on our schedule in those first halves. But man, we couldn't hold a lead to save our lives in the second half. And so I knew, that it would be a process of getting the right bodies in, maybe tinkering around with the defensive coach or two. But mostly, I mean, football is about the Jimmys and Joes. Like, let's be real. X's and O's matter a ton, but you're at Texas, you're in Missouri, you're in the SEC, you're going to have to recruit some big cats that can come in and play football. Yes, you must develop. Yes, you better be able to scheme, but you damn sure better be able to recruit, or you're not gonna last. And so
Yep.
I knew Sark would be able to do that. Had a lot of confidence, man. So I'm glad to see that it's working out. I am also kind of torn on Napier. I do like a lot of what they have on their 2 deep. Injuries happen. You're talking about a war for them, and particularly on every single Saturday, starting very early in the year. So we'll see,
That
man.
schedule is wild.
It's crazy to look at. It almost kind of makes me flinch a little just pulling it up on the computer screen. Tough to be a Florida Gator. If you're a Florida Gator, what is a mark that you're pleased with after this year?
7-5.
7-5. I think that would be an incredible season. They should dance in the streets of Gainesville if they pulled off 7-5. In my opinion, I mean, you're gonna play a lot of close ball games. Some are gonna go your way, some are not. But yeah, I do like that Texas gets them later in the season, so that they've had a chance to go through that schedule. They get Georgia the week before they come to Austin. I think that is a pretty big break for the Longhorns. But at the same time,
I mean, Florida, look, they are like, they're obviously not the cream of the crop in the conference, but Mizzou saw them the second to last week of the season, and it took a 4th and 17 to get out of that game with a win. Like, they are not, like, is Billy Napier the answer at Florida? Maybe. I don't know. I can't answer that right now. What I can answer is that they had a top 10 team in the country fighting for their lives at home and Florida had a backup quarterback in for a large majority of that game. I don't know if he's the guy, but I left that game thinking, damn, I don't know why these Gator fans hate him as much as they do, because they had me fearing for my life in that game.
Yeah. I mean, look what they did to Tennessee early in, or middle to late September last year. I mean, They can win a big game at home.
That wasn't even at home. Our game, that was in Columbia.
Y'all's game was in Columbia?
Oh, yeah. They had us on the ropes on our home field on senior day.
That's tough. Yeah, I mean, trying to remember. I don't know why I didn't watch any or see any of that game, but it's not coming back to me. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is
Brady Cook hit Luther Burden on a 4th and 17.
That's clutch time, man. That's
and
one chapter of a really special season for Missouri because if that play doesn't happen, you're not talking Cotton Bowl, and
nope,
that's huge, man, massive. I'm gonna have to go watch that one, check it out. I think that ultimately, like you just said, 7 wins, man. That just getting 6 and hitting a bowl game, huge for Florida's. You got to keep recruiting. They've done a good job of getting guys in. They have had some late departures in class via flip, but you got to keep recruiting, man. The state of Florida obviously is a ton of kids around there to build a program around, but at the same time, the patience thing. It's only year 3. Like you said, I agree. 4 years or so, maybe even longer, to really get that thing humming and rolling, man. I mean, to really get it.
I mean, Lagway's a dog. I want to see.
How long before we see him?
I think we see him, and I like Graham Mertz. I think they're going to sprinkle Lagway in a little bit here and there. I'm curious as to see how, but I do think we see him. I think we get some cameo appearances this year.
Yeah, I think in spots. I think there's situational moments where he'll probably have maybe have packages. Certain down and distances where they have things for him. I think they'll ease him into it. I don't think they're just going to throw him out to the wolves. With that schedule you're talking about, it creates a really weird situation. If you play Mertz, you bench him, you go to DJ, he's playing top 20 defense every week. He struggles. You go back to Mertz. Like you can't do that, in my opinion.
No.
Like, you go DJ and you go DJ all the way, but you have to do that at the correct time. Otherwise, you still have to do your best, give your best effort for everything this particular year for recruiting. Obviously, for everyone involved, you want to do what you can on the field. So you're not just throwing a season away with DJ. You go at the correct time when you know that he's the guy that best helps you out on the field as far as getting a chance to win. Little news segment. I haven't done this with anyone yet. I thought it'd be great for you to get us kickstarted on that. I am going to name 2 random teams. It's going to be kind of like a rapid reaction. I'm going to name 2 random teams. You're going to tell me who has the better season this year. Okay?
All right.
We'll do 2. We'll bounce on. I've got 5 different ones. We'll go through them quick. Okay? First and foremost, Texas or Georgia, who has the better year?
I think we figured that out in the SEC championship game.
I will take that. I would love that situation. All right, Bama, Ole Miss, who has the better season?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I like it. I actually have Bama playing in my SEC championship game. Missouri or LSU?
Ooh, I'm biased. I'm going to go Missouri just because of the schedule.
It's that I tried to get you on that one. I heard you say earlier, that you do like LSU. I also like LSU, but at the same time, man, Missouri's going to have a great offense. Schedule shapes up very, very well. All right, Texas A&M or Kentucky. The old Mike Elko versus Mark Stoops. We'll see who should have been that coach. No kidding. Who do you got having a better season, the Ags or the Wildcats?
Do we have any Aggies in here?
There is a 1,000% chance, yes. Me and the Ags are closer than me and some Longhorns. It's a weird deal. I don't know what's going on, but
I think Mike Elko is a dog of a head coach.
Agreed.
You win at Duke, you're a good coach. That's
Agreed.
The way I see it, which is why I got A&M as a bit of a sleeper this year. I think they're going to be really tough.
I like a lot of what they. I've said it on half the channels or the episodes on this channel, man. I mean, we've had Aggies on. I'm right there with you. I think there's a lot of avenues for them to pull off a 9-win season.
Kentucky's just 8-4 personified.
Yeah,
I don't see it with them.
I mean, I think they're doing a good job in Kentucky. You're talking about Kentucky football, and we're asking them if they, if they're on par with Texas A&M for year. Not that A&M is the best program in the country, but we got a question for you here, Mr. Berman. Miss Ingrid would like to know why you are such a big fan.
Why do I like the Aggies? I think that defense is going to be a lot of fun. Mike Elko, especially, is a defensive-minded guy. I think he fits the culture there where he's just weird enough to get it. I'm not as huge of a Connor Wegman fan as some people are. So, like, the reason I keep them from hitting that next tier in the conference is I don't love their quarterback situation as much as some people do. I've never seen it with him. But look, you got a likely top 10 pick in Nick Scout on the edge. You got one of the toughest places to play in college football. Good defense, a really good schematic-minded head coach, and still a whole lot of blue chip talent on that team, that's why I like A&M. I don't love them. There's that tier of teams I love. There's that tier of teams that I like very, very, very much. That's your A&M. That's your LSU. Those are
Missouri, or they love?
I'm going to put Missouri a smidge above them.
Okay.
You want me to give you, I guess, my rankings of like more of like a tier list of sorts. My top tier, I have your Georgia, your Texas, your Alabama, no particular order. Next tier, your Missouri, your Ole Miss, a little bit below them. Then below that, I have LSU, A&M, and then who knows in this conference, somebody could crawl up and
there's always someone.
Nudge their way. There's always somebody.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of that, so there's always someone. I'm not going to ask you for a sleeper. Who of that top tier is the most likely, in your opinion, to underachieve this year? You're talking, I think you've said Georgia, Texas, Bama. Throw in, Missouri, LSU, any of those teams that you
Ole Miss
really love or like. Ole Miss. Okay. Why is that?
They just have never been able to win the big game under Kiffin. And once again, comes back to the quarterback thing. I don't love Jackson Dart in big games. I really don't. And maybe I'm wrong there. And Ole Miss is going to have a great start to their season. They're what? Go through the schedule. I see 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. And then LSU is going to want blood in Baton Rouge for how their game last year ended.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to go into LSU. Their game's going to be at night. And they're going to get mollywopped. And then they're going to come back and they're going to be beaten and bruised in Oklahoma, who, while I don't think they're going to be amazing, they're still going to be a very dangerous team.
I think they're built pretty well to match up. I think they're really well. They match up really well with the Rebs. I agree there. I think that Ole Miss's lack of power run game could be an issue for them when they see the Oklahoma defense. Oklahoma's going to be really dang good at linebacker. They're going to be pretty dang good on the defensive line. And I think they'll be good enough in the secondary. I think they might have one hole at the moment, but I'm sure they're working on that. Defense is going to be pretty good. In my point, I think
defense is going to be pretty good.
With Jackson Dart sharing some of the same concerns. I'm not going to say that's my team. I don't think I've truly decided. I kind of just there's like so many teams this year. I'm like, man, I really like them. They could easily win 10 games. And if you see, I turn around real quick, and I've got myself. I'm saying that about 6 or 7 teams. One team kind of in that tier. Maybe you have them a little below that tier we haven't talked about. How do you feel about Coach Apple's Vols? They should be a little bit, I think they'll still be pretty dang good on defense. But
always miss out. I'm like, there's always that one team. Like, damn, I know I'm missing talking about that. Who is it? And it's Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm like, look, Josh Heupel's doing such a good job. People forget how dire that program situation was 3-4 years ago. People thought he was crazy for even taking that job. Like, that program was in the pits.
Yeah.
And now you have this stream of high level quarterback talent coming into Knoxville. They are the biggest wild card to me in this entire conference, because you have the talent on defense, you have the talent on offense. It all comes down to, is Nico as good as advertised? I think there's a very strong potential he could be better. And if he's better than advertised, then who knows where their ceiling is.
All right. It is hard to say. I do like their defense a lot. I think that obviously that's going to keep them in games, while Nico, like you're saying, I don't know if it's going to take him a second to get his feet wet. guys like him, you see all the film, you see all the tape, you hear reports, see everything from camp, and I wouldn't be surprised by anything that he does. But yeah, I catch myself forgetting to talk about Tennessee more too, and maybe it is because it's the first year big dog at quarterback. Um, Maybe just like other teams a little bit better. But would you lump them in the same tier that you have right there with like a Missouri and an Ole Miss, or are you going to be further down with like an LSU? And I'm trying to remember the tier sheet you have.
A&M.
A&M, okay, yeah, A&M. You do, yeah.
Honestly, they could. I think right now I'll put them in that 9-10 win tier or that 8-9 win tier with A&M, LSU. They could go higher. Like I'm not going to count them out. They that team could they could be very very good, and I just don't know yet. But the potential's there.
Okay, I mean that's the thing. It's like there's so much potential all across the conference because you're talking about the best recruits in America, and they're just spread out through this conference, and you're like, man, that is almost a semi-pro team. Not really. They look really, really dang good on paper, and then you match them up here, and they're like, wow, these guys look a smidge better, and you're like, oh, okay. We go over here. I mean, there's so many teams that fit the criteria of like, man, they got littered with 4 stars and got several 5 stars. Teams that play good defense, you have a few that play good offense, and so it's gonna be a blast to see how it all works and meshes together, man. Appreciate you guys letting us slide into the conference because this is crazy to think about. It's been the longest off season because it's just like it's gonna be the most fun college football season. I don't think no matter what happens for my team on the field that I'll ever had in my life. Just because all the matchups that you have with the new Big Ten, the new SEC, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for each and every one of them. Now, getting into Texas a little bit more, who is, in your opinion, the biggest game on our schedule? You got Georgia coming at home. Obviously, that's a huge game for Texas as far as proving themselves in recruiting in several other ways. You got Oklahoma and Dallas. You go to A&M. For Texas, right there at A&M.
Yep.
Yep. How do you think that game goes for Texas? I'm not telling you make a prediction. If you have a prediction, feel free to share it. But
I already tweeted it.
Okay.
I think you guys lose that game, and it is the only loss you take all regular season.
Okay. I've had one other gentleman, I believe one of the SEC Unfiltered guys, said the same thing. I would take that in a heartbeat. I know that sounds insane. Same thing I told them. I believe I asked a question. One of the SEC guys or Unfiltered guys posted our schedule with the only loss being A&M. I tweeted it with a Texas fans, would you take this 11-1? And the amount of people in the comments, the amount of Longhorn fans who said they wouldn't take an 11-1 season just because it meant losing to A&M, knowing you'd still have a chance to most likely play for the SEC title, but definitely get into the playoff and play for a national.
You take that in a second.
They did not want to do it. They said no. I mean, 80% of the probably 150 comments were no's, and I was shocked, man. It would hurt driving away from College Station. Like that would sting a lot. Like knowing that, like even if we won a title, they would be able to say, "Hey, we beat you," you know. But at the same time, man, that means we're playing in the college football playoff if we go 11-1. I don't care how it has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would sign up for it right now. Now, do I agree with you as far as like, yeah, we can lose that game, absolutely. I think a huge part of it is going to, how both teams look as far as injuries and depth down the line. I do like our depth a little overall better than A&M's on the defensive side and on the offensive side. I think we're a little better O-line, D-line. So when it comes to like the trench warfare late in September or November, I do like that in our favor. But at the same time, man, it's college football. It's going to be a massive rivalry game to the point of where it's probably the biggest Texas and A&M game the state's ever seen. It's going to be hard for Texas to roll in there, man. A lot of people think it's going to be easy. It will not be easy. We'll see what happens, but I can't fault you for taking that loss.
There's no such thing as easy in this conference.
No, absolutely. And as Texas, we just went through the Big 12 and took our licks in that one and lost to, Baylor and TCU. I'm not going to go far as calling them rivals. I'll give you credit, Tech. But losing games to them, that hurts. Wait till we lose a game to the Aggies one time and they remember what it feels like to lose to those guys. it's gonna hurt, but man, it's gonna be really cool seeing. I don't know if you have plans on bouncing around the college football universe and checking games out, man, but get to that one soon. Get to Texas
I'd
State.
love to. I kind of need to be working somewhere that doesn't take as much out of my schedule. But like my dream is to you know be able to bounce from school to school and to be able to create content for that that side of things. But hey,
It's a dream.
dreams a long way away. But just got to take one step at a time to make it a reality.
Man. Just don't quit. Um, how cool, man. We'll be talking about this while we're in like Madison, Wisconsin, like 7 years from now or something. Like, dude, we can't even drive 2 hours to College Station to watch a game. We got to, but yeah. So one day, but no, man,
One day.
it's all cool. I mean, I've been lucky enough in life to check out a lot of different college football environments. I will
What's
say
your favorite?
my man, you put me in a really hard spot right here because if I say my genuine answer on the timeline, I mean that
It's got to be A&M, isn't it?
A&M's it is elite, man. In particular, the 2009. I know everyone talks about the 2011 game. Um, that was like hatred. It was the rivalry is always intense, but it was almost like too much hatred. Like every single play, you had 40 fans around you, like cussing at the players, and then like Texas fans are yelling back, and I mean it was chaotic. The 2009 game, Texas went in there with Colt McCoy, Matt Brown, number 2 or 3 in the country, undefeated. The year we lose to Bama in the title game, and like they gave us absolute hell. A team that had no pulse on defense, but had Gerard Johnson, a quarterback, and a few playmakers at wide receiver, and they threw all over us. Man, he torched us. Jeff Fuller caught 3 TDs for A&M. I really like A&M. If you're talking from a whole as far as noise, um, the overall environment. I mean, like, and I lived in. I don't know. You don't know anything about me. I lived in College Station for 11 years.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Married an Aggie. I've spent a lot of time at Kyle Field in my days. I have seen them drop a lot of games. I was telling someone on the channel. I think. I mean, they're roughly 3-12, 3-10, 3-12 when I'm in attendance, and so I'm not. I don't think it's as when if I were to say A&M, I don't think it's much of a like pat on the back as they might think it is, just because like I enjoy that whole overall experience. I'll do this. I'll go outside of the SEC. There's still several that I'll need to see, but outside of the SEC, I know you're going to laugh at me now, but I think Oklahoma State has a fantastic experience
I'm not
environment.
gonna laugh at you. I think that's a
Nebraska is way up there. Nebraska is super high on the list. Fans were incredible. They go 1-10, 1-11 against Texas in the Big 12, and I mean, we go up there and they still treat you, like your long lost brother, and they hang out, show you a great time. Outside of Nebraska, I'm going random here, trying to think of some. I'll think about it, man. I was really sad that we didn't get to make our return to trip in 2021 to Death Valley. Or I guess that was 2020. COVID wiped out the LSU game that year. They came to us in 2019. I think that one, just from my overall, watching college football, hearing everyone what they say, seeing everything on TV, I think that once I get there, that'll immediately jump over the Aggies into wait. I can't say out loud they're at number one. I almost did, but LSU would be way up there. But overall, if you want my favorite like game day experience ever, and it never changes, it's the same every year. And I'd love your take on this, but I tell people all the time, Texas and Oklahoma, man, that is my Christmas. There's something electric.
never been. I need to go.
You have to, and I know. I don't know if you've done it. You said earlier something about an Iron Bowl and picking a friend up. I don't know if you've done that game, but
Oh, that was not the Iron Bowl. We did the
okay.
poor man's Iron Bowl.
Oh, you did. Okay, you're at Bama, and then you went to pick up the buddy, or you did the Auburn game, then you went to pick up the buddy at Bama.
Right.
Yeah. So I also cannot compare. It would be unfair to me to say this is better than the other, and vice versa. But it is very hard for me to imagine an environment more electric and intense than the Red River. But at the same time, I'm biased as hell, and of course, I'm going to say that because that's my favorite day of the year, and I say that as a person who has been absolutely owned by Oklahoma in their lifetime. I have been to I've been to almost every single Texas and OU game since 2005, and haven't seen a ton of wins. And it's still one of my favorite days ever. It's a real cool scene. Not really a big neutral site guy. I don't know if you have a stern stance against neutral site games like a lot of folks do. I personally don't like them, but
I don't like them either, but I think there are certain games where that do need to be neutral site. I would say it really is only Texas, Oklahoma, and Army Navy. That's kind of it.
yeah. I mean, even I think Georgia, Florida is pretty stale from an environment standpoint. You
That
would
needs to be put on campuses.
Yeah, absolutely. A&M Arkansas, like that is a joke. I know that contract's almost up. Those games better go back to campus where they belong. That is crazy. I don't know what rotation they'll be in and how often they'll be playing. So it'll go back to campus. It just won't be yearly. But yeah, man, it's the thing where there's going to be so many cool matchups, but at the same time, we're going to miss out on so many cool matchups just because there's so many teams. And so when you talk about like A&M has played Georgia one time in 11 years of SEC ball. They played Georgia one time, and it's just it's like, oh yeah, we are in this awesome conference of incredible teams, and we are getting back Oklahoma and A&M and Arkansas. But man, I'm like, dude, I hope we don't get LSU like once every 8 years. I don't know the whole rotation and the plan and how that works, but I'm gonna be sad if we don't get to go to Bryant Denny again, or go to Death Valley, or go to Athens. I want to go everywhere and as soon as we can. But more and more teams you add, it starts making it harder and harder to do so.
I got to be honest with you, as someone that's been, I, it's such a cop out answer, but someone that's been to a Penn State whiteout, like that's it. That is it. That's the best atmosphere I've ever been part of. By far.
My granddad played at Penn State. Unfortunately, I've never been able to go experience that, but definitely on the bucket list, man.
Dude, come out here. I'm only a few hours away.
There we go. Michigan, Ohio State. That's all it would take. Just need to see one of them. I don't know which one comes up there this year. I think last year y'all went to Penn State went to Ohio State. So I think Ohio State comes back. But with the new
Ohio
schedule,
State comes back this year.
Okay.
But that's not the whiteout. Washington gets the whiteout this year for whatever reason.
Okay. Welcome to the Big Ten, they said.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Washington, Oregon? Obviously Washington's going to have to replace a lot, but I think that they hired an excellent coach in Jed Fish. What do you think about their long-term chances? We can go Ducks after this. What do you think about Washington's long-term chances in the Big Ten?
Oh, you're going to hate me for this one. Or Huskies are going to hate me for this one. I don't think Jed Fish is there that much longer. I think he ducks again. Why? Because sooner or later, Billy Napier is no longer going to have the job in Florida. I'm not saying it's going to be this year, but Jed Fish, a great program building head coach, also happens to be a Gator alum.
I did not know that, and that's a huge wrinkle. That's big. I did not realize Coach Fish.
Yep.
So, okay. Sorry, Huskies. Enjoy it while you can. The reviews, people rave about that man. So, hey, maybe Billy Napier turns it all around. Sounds like Washington fans should certainly be rooting for him to do so over there in Florida. But like you said, some people are saying that he's closer to an extension than he is a firing. So, but yeah, so go back to the Huskies. Obviously, if you lose a coach, we don't know who they hire. It's hard to predict.
I don't even know who's playing quarterback for Washington this year.
At the moment, I do not either. I'll be genuine with you. I do not know. I don't try to keep up with that program a lot in the last 8 or 9 months. I've tried to kind of stay away, refrain myself. That was painful. Definitely, I felt like the better side did not get out of there with a win, and I'm just bitter. But anyways, we'll go to the Ducks because the Ducks have a fantastic coach who's not going anywhere, in my opinion, for quite a while.
No, he is not.
How do you feel about Oregon in the Big Ten?
That team is going to That's good. They're going to be a big threat to win the whole thing.
I agree. Absolutely agree. I think
I think they upgraded a quarterback.
absolutely.
I think they are going to be as problematic and that is an SEC team in the middle of Big Ten country. Like
Absolutely.
that is not built like your prototypical Big Ten team. They are built to score at you on will or score on you or geez, I can't speak. Score at will on you. There we go. Third time's a charm. But they're going to run up the scoreboard on you. And defensively, they are built bigger than anybody else in that conference. That team is built like an SEC team in terms of guys' size, blue chip talent. They're going to beat the shit out of you. And that's because Dan Lanning did that with his time at Georgia. That's what he's training. He's trying to build Georgia in the Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
And I think he's getting pretty close.
I mean, they're great on the offensive line. They're great at tight end. They're good at receiver. Backs are good. Quarterback play, Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, he took us down last year. I became a much larger fan of Dylan Gabriel once he left Oklahoma. I think he's got a great game. He throws a good ball. He's really, really instinctive. Could that be what takes them over the top? They definitely shouldn't have lost that first Washington game. I was
No, they
unable.
shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was crazy. All the points they left on the field in that one. I wasn't able to watch as much of that second one, but I thought Oregon was clearly the better team. I was shocked that they lost to them twice. But at the same time, I just said I was surprised that my team lost to Washington as well. So you have to give the Huskies some credit because they've won some big ball games over the last couple of years. But I agree with you, man. Oregon is going to go in there and I think run roughshod out of that conference. I think that they'll Oregon. We have Oregon, Michigan this year, right?
Yeah.
No, we have Oregon and they have Ohio State.
Oregon, Ohio State. Yes.
Yeah.
Oregon goes to Ann Arbor.
That's right. Okay, so wow, they get them both.
I'm not sure how good Michigan's going to be.
I'm curious, man. I mean, obviously, we've kind of been diving in a little bit more on them as we get closer to that one, just because I want to see how camp goes and what their quarterback situation looks like. And it doesn't sound like they know who their quarterback is going to be. And I don't know if you're a Michigan fan, like, what do you do as far as your season? Are you looking for the best guy, the guy that gives you the best chance to win the Texas game, or the guy that gives you the best chance to go throughout the season? I don't know. It just can't this guy.
Michigan's in a weird spot right now.
Second team. Okay. Second team. Oh man, I'd give a lot to get that 2023 Red River back. But anyways, enjoy your hat, Travis. I hope it's heavy on your head. But yeah, man, it's just like who in that conference really, other than Ohio State, can play with Oregon? I'm talking about like, I mean, we'll see on Michigan, but like, I'm talking like they look multiple scores better than anyone. Penn State, God bless them. That anemic offense, they're not hanging with Oregon. Now
defense is going to stick with them, but Penn State
true.
doesn't even play Oregon this year.
Well, yeah, I just meant I mean, it just looks like they're ready to come in and dominate the conference. Sorry, I didn't mean any particular there. Just for the next several years, they're set up really, really well. You know,
let me think.
What happens with Michigan? No idea. What are your thoughts on Ryan Day?
I think there's a sleeping giant in Michigan, not in Ann Arbor and East Lansing.
Okay.
I think Jonathan Smith is the real deal. And
He is the real deal.
I think that is a program that is not getting enough talk right now. If you were to ask me right now, who is flying the most under the radar in the country, I can give you an SEC team, and I'll give you one for each conference.
Let's do it. I'm all about that.
Let's start. SEC, you want to talk about a guy that has been a thorn in the side of Texas fans. That would be Mr. Jeff Lebby.
Yep.
And I think Mississippi State is in a much better spot. Like we've seen first-year head coaches come in and win 8-9 games at different points in time. Not saying Mississippi State is going to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they play much better than people expect. I'm a big Blake Shapen guy too. And hey, Jeff Lebby is recruiting well there. That is something to keep an eye out for. But I would say Mississippi State, people are placing them at the bottom of the conference. They remind me of where Mizzou was the first year under Drinkwitz.
Yeah. I like Shapen with. I think that's a great pairing, to be honest. Obviously, Oklahoma's still running that same offense now with, or planning to run that same offense without Lebby. I think it's very effective. A lot of Texas fans see that first game, and I mean, like, they're just assuming Mississippi State's an automatic win. We get ready for Oklahoma. I guess we have a bye week and then get ready for OU. But I know Sark will have them focused. Obviously, they'll be dialed in. But there could be problems that offense can pose for Texas. I mean, just by scheme alone. But then, I mean, I think he'll be a little bit better about rallying those guys up and having them ready. What to you, other than maybe Shapen that you mentioned, makes Mississippi State underrated in your eyes?
I just really like the way. I know some Oklahoma fans have been very critical of Jeff Lebby. I think it's just the classic case of, oh, something doesn't go well, blame the offensive coordinator. But I think he brings something different. And I think the quarterback, I think the recruiting, I think their offensive line is in a really good spot with some of those transfers they brought in.
Yeah, that's going to be. I mean,
And then, oh my gosh, who's that guy? Who's that guy that brought in from Louisville? Oh, shoot, what's his name? Kevin Coleman. Oh, we're talking about who the Washington quarterback is. It's Will Rogers.
man, how do we miss
I
that?
just learned that a second ago.
Grandpa Will Rogers, been around for a while in the game. Yeah, speaking of Mississippi State, that's great. I liked him in Mississippi State. Was a huge Mike Leach fan, man. I loved him over there. I thought it was
So
great
was
for
I.
them. Ah, man. Hopefully Will gets it together over there because he was a part of those Leach offenses a lot and easy kid to root for. I mean, I just felt like they're dropping it back, throwing a mesh route or a stop almost every snap, but it was still fun to watch. So you said now Big Ten. Who's the underrated team in the Big Ten?
Michigan State.
Michigan State. Oh, sorry. Let's go Big 12.
Aiden Shiles, a Michigan State head coach. I mean, quarterback. Jeez,
Quarterback.
he is very good.
Yeah.
Big 12. I feel like this conference is very. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Now, my girlfriend, who's sitting in the other room, is an Arizona State Sun Devil. So, babe, I'm not picking ASU. I'm sorry. I like what Kenny Dillingham's doing. Not yet, but. I feel like everybody, you talk about your K-State, you talk about your Utah, Arizona's bringing back Fafita and Ted McMillan. Who stands out to me? That would be the West Virginia Mountaineers.
I think West Virginia can have a lot better too. Yeah, that was going to be half my answer. That's a great choice, and obviously biased.
And I think they beat Penn State week 1.
I mean, don't rule it out. What's the spread on that game? Have you seen it?
We'll ask Google.
I think last year it was a couple of touchdowns, but just curious. I think West Virginia. I mean, no one is talking. Not that I can see. No one is talking about West Virginia. They're going to be a lot.
Penn State is 10-point favorites.
Okay.
So, I think West Virginia is covering that at least. Morgantown. They win outright in Morgantown.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Double checking. I mean, yeah, it's got to be a game where there's probably not a ton. Obviously, it's a Penn State game. It's not going to be a ton of. That's a great comment. Going to be a game where probably not a lot of points are scored by the winner. They can hang around in that. I don't know if my other half, and I was waiting for a Big 12 show to say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I really like Texas Tech. I think Tech is going to be surprising. I think Baron Morton's going to light it up at quarterback. I like the way they play defense over there. They're very aggressive. They take a lot of risks. They're slowly getting a few more additions to that defense to where they can actually do that and then have a little depth behind it. Because they're so aggressive, you're going to have some of that depth because you'll look at the way Texas Tech played Texas. I know probably in a game you didn't watch and have no interest in watching, but go watch the 2022 Texas at Texas Tech game. And you play college football, right? You're 25?
Of course, too much of it.
Of course. Brother, they were running engage 8 on every snap. We're getting it to Bijan Robinson. It's either getting hit in the backfield for 2-yard loss or he's getting 30. sometimes 60 for a touchdown. Same thing for Roshan Johnson. Same thing for the passing game. Christ. Same thing with the passing game. It was either feast or famine. But over time, it wore us down. It wore down our running game. Every play. I mean, every single player looked like we were running 40 yards. Everybody was running 40 or 50 yards, or we are getting smoked in the backfield. I like the plan that they had for us. I think they'll be really good schematically up there in Lubbock. And then I think finally they're gonna. I mean, we didn't even talk about the man, the tailback, Mr. Brooks. Like they're loaded on offense. I think
Oh yeah,
Kittler's got a lot to work with. Though, see up there. We'll see. They
we're
don't.
gonna talk ACC.
Oh yeah, we got to do ACC. Go on.
We're staying in state. It's
Staying.
SMU.
All right. I mean, what makes them underrated in your eyes? What surprises the ACC?
I mean, we begin. Rhett Lashley knows what he's doing, and he's just one of those guys that just kind of gets it. They had SMU is 18-9 since he started.
Solid.
As head coach. It's their first year in a power conference. In a power conference that I think is very, very, very up for grabs.
I don't think Florida State's going to be as good as
Florida State. Florida State loses in Dublin this weekend.
Yeah, I can see it, man. Absolutely. I'll be rooting for it.
I'll be rooting for the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech all the way.
Hey, Coach Key, man, don't. I agree with you there. I'll drop a prediction for that one next week or later this week. But that's gonna be hell. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be as good. What are your Clemson vibes?
I like Preston Stone a lot at QB. He threw for over 3,000 yards last year, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. That's a good team. Like, the more I look at them, the more I'm like,
What's their schedule look like? I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it much.
All right, let's get into that. I know they get FSU in Dallas.
FSU's in Dallas. Okay.
They open this weekend. They got week 0 in Reno, Nevada, at University of Nevada, and then Houston Christian. I believe that HCU. That's got to be Houston Christian.
It is.
Yeah, it is. BYU at home, TCU at home, FSU at home. Travis, I am not from Texas. I am from New Jersey. I am not Texas biased whatsoever. At Louisville. Louisville's going to be good. At Duke. I don't know what Duke's going to look like this. Who's Duke's coach now? Is that Manny? Is that Manny Diaz? Of course, I look up Duke head coach and John Shire comes up. Yeah, I know it is Manny Diaz. Okay, I was right.
That's Texas fans.
At Stanford, at Duke, home versus Pittsburgh, home versus Boston College, at Virginia, they're going to stink. Versus Cal, yeah, we might be looking at a 10-2 SMU this season.
I mean, hey, you can't rule it out. Like you said, the conference seems to be up for grabs.
So shout out my boy Kyron Drones at Virginia Tech, most underrated quarterback in the country.
Okay, in the entire country, you got him.
Entire country.
Okay. Well, is there anyone else, outside of those choices from the Big 12? You got I guess you said West Virginia, Michigan State, SMU. You got anybody else in there that you think could jump out and win that conference? Another team that might have been the 1B to your 1A of a choice.
Of what, the ACC?
Or any of the three? I mean, do you think there's another sleeper outside of Michigan State in the Big 10? Do you think there's someone else other than SMU and the ACC? I'm asking because I personally have a couple teams that I could see sneaking up. I love Georgia Tech. I'm not going to say they could sneak up and win the conference, but I think they can sneak up and play a difference in who does win that conference.
Everybody and their mother says it's Miami. I'll believe it when I see it.
We're doing it again. I mean,
I'll believe it when I see it with Cristobal.
It's an every year thing, and I say that as a Texas fan who obviously we got hyped up every.
I think NC State's under the radar. But
I like North Carolina State, but they do have a tough schedule, man. There'll be some fun games and the chances to prove themselves, but they'll
you got
also.
Grayson McCall coming up from Coastal Carolina. You got the best wide receiver in the country nobody's talking about it, Casey Concepcion.
Yeah,
That dude is an animal.
it's gonna be fun. I mean, all the conferences are gonna be great times, man. Like you're saying, like I kind of think Oregon, Ohio State are clearly in the Big Ten, but outside of that, I mean, it's 4 or 5 teams from every conference, in my opinion, that you could argue have a shot to win the conference championship.
And also, not in a conference. Every time I say this, it gets flack. It gets, really? I think the team that's being slept on, not by the AP poll, sure shit by the general public, is Notre Dame.
Defense is going to be really good.
Defense is really good. I'm a big Riley Leonard guy.
Dude, talk about a guy with some heart, man. That dude is the game. He is the definition of a gamer. When you look it up in the dictionary, it's Riley Leonard right there. That man, with all the injuries, no disrespect to Duke football, but lack of talent overall compared to the rest of the ACC. And I mean, like you said with Mike Elko, it's a testament to Elko, testament to Leonard. What they did at Duke was a lot of fun to watch. I became a Duke football fan. I've always been very anti. I told you a lot of me liking the Tar Heels. Very anti-Duke basketball. I made a comment earlier on Twitter that I love Duke football, not a fan of Duke basketball, and that's probably the way it's going to be for a while. And it's a little bit because of Riley Leonard, a little bit because of Mike Elko, a little bit because of Malik Murphy, their former quarterback at UT, who's transferred over to Duke now and won the starting job today, which is good news for him. Congrats, Malik.
First I saw of Riley Leonard was that game against Clemson last year, and it just, when you watch a team and you see someone, you kind of have like that, oh, this guy rocks. Like, hold on a second. Like it was one of those. So yeah, I'm big on man, I completely just lost my train of thought. Oh my God. I'm big on Duke football right now, I guess, but bigger on Notre Dame.
I think that Marcus Freeman's a terrific head football coach. I really like him.
Travis, nice meeting you.
Hey, he's a great man, great follow. Go give that Sooner some love. He does a lot of work for the Sooner media up there. Been a big help to me in this whole dream that we've had of getting on here, putting out some content, talking to some great folks as yourself, Zach. But yeah, go give Travis. Everybody knows, all my viewers on here, y'all know Travis is awesome. Y'all go check him out as we get ready for a huge football season for both Texas and Oklahoma. But yeah, man, Marcus Freeman, I think.
What day is Red River? Before, and then finish your.
You're great. It normally is the second Saturday in October. Every now and then they'll have it on the first, depending on what the date of the first Friday. But it is the 12th this year, so we have a bye week on the 5th. 12th is Texas.
I want to nut up and go to that game, man. Like, the only issue is that's the one weekend where Missouri football is playing in the Northeast United States, and yes, we are playing it. We are playing at UMass.
Hey.
12,000 seat stadium, and I'm planning on being there. But if I could get the only game I would miss that for would be Red River.
It's definitely a special one, man. I'm not going to try to talk you out of going and seeing that beautiful part of the country, but you wouldn't be disappointed if you do end up in Dallas on the fairgrounds that weekend of October 12th. It's going to be a sick one. This is the first time that I can remember that leading up to that game, both teams have rivals. Both teams have a bye week. It's been a while, so that only adds to the preparation, maybe a little bit of the pressure on Sark and Venables because I know they have extra time to get ready for one another. But yeah, you're talking about a rivalry when you're looking back. Last year, it was decided by 4 points. There was a blowout the year before. Go back before that, and I mean, there's not very many blowouts in a long time. There's unfortunately the 3 or 4 you'll find in there in the last few decades have been by the Sooners just pummeling Texas. That game's not as much fun when you get beat 65-21. I will say that. I love that day, but it loses a little bit of its lure when you're walking out of there and you just got pounded by 40.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But absolutely, man. That if you are able, definitely keep me in touch because would be a lot of fun, man. But all
Dude,
right,
of
man.
course we're keeping in touch. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much for having me on. Like, my goodness.
Absolutely, man. I know that it kind of got silly with the audio, man. First time to know
That
you.
feels like a million years ago at this point.
We've talked about 5 minutes in total before this, so it'll only get better as we continue to get to know one another. I'm going to let you get out of here. I do have one more question. You give me a quick answer if you'd like.
Hit
Tell
me
the
with it.
viewers you're a big Mr. MIZ guy. What's your favorite overall memory as a Missouri Tiger? It could be football field, baseball, basketball, gymnastics. What warms your heart when you're thinking about your black and gold Tigers?
My heart, and granted, in my time at Mizzou in college, they weren't very good. So it was winning that game against Kansas State last year on that 61-yard kick. And it was with my girlfriend's family down in Phoenix, and they all love to play make or miss right before kicker runs out. And I look at her dad, and I say, make or miss. And he goes, make. And I look at her, and I go, make or miss. And she goes, make. And I'm thinking, miss. And something deep down in my soul just said, make. And then it was good from 61. Not sure if it would have been good from 62, but
it was crazy. I was definitely watching that. Might have been rooting for K-State. Have a big soft spot for K-State, but that was a fantastic football game.
yeah.
Luka Burden, he ate that night, or
he is
but not night, but
program changing player.
Special talent. I think Mizzou fans realize that they treat him as so, and so good for y'all, man. But that's a great memory, man. 61 yards that's pretty insane at the collegiate level. Definitely cool to beat K-State right there next door to you. So shoot right down the road from you. But all right,
right down I-70.
Yeah, right down the road. Zach, thank you very much for joining. I'm gonna let you get out
of here. Thank you for the time, man.
Absolutely. Let's do it again, guys. Thank you all
for
checking the channel out. Y'all hop over to the link on my bio on Twitter. Go subscribe to the channel. Also, a reminder, tomorrow at 11 a.m. on Ghost and Friends, we have Texas 2026 quarterback commit Dia Bell coming on the channel, giving us roughly a half hour to 45 minutes. Y'all come on for that. It will only be live on YouTube, not on X as well. All right, Zach. Peace out, brother. Have a good one.
Peace out.
Have a good night.